Hello. This time of the year, the beginning of a new one, people stop with smoking. But they may not have a good idea on how to do that. This episode will give you some ideas. If we take as a benchmark a pack of Marlboros, 20 pieces in a pack, then in Laos you'll be paying €1 for that pack. In the EU, in Germany, it would be about €5.50. In France, €7, and in the Benelux, something in between. Go over to the United States. In Carolina, it's about $9, and it can range all the way up to $14 for that same pack of Marlboros. It's a very expensive hobby. Smoking turns you into a social outcast. A lot of people complain about the smoke. You have stenchy clothes and fingers, and it turns your mouth into an ashtray. They used to use tar for making roads, asphalt, but now they switched to bitumen. Because bitumen doesn't contain so much polyaromatic hydrocarbons, which tar in cigarettes still contains. It is a cancer-causing substance. Well, it's a class of molecules, really. And also for other smoked foods like sausages and hams and fish, they've brought down the use of real smoke from real wood chips and replaced it with a smoke oil, which doesn't contain these polyaromatic hydrocarbons. Now, the main substance in tobacco is, of course, nicotine. That's why you smoke it. Nicotine is highly addictive. It is also a vasoconstrictor, which means your veins will give your blood less room to maneuver through. And it is pro-inflammatory. Now, chronic inflammation is the key word that explains all these diseases that a lot of people suffer, like atherosclerosis in the first place, of course, but also rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, Parkinson, MS. All those are classified as chronic inflammations. Good reason to stop with nicotine. Less mentioned are the heavy metals and isotopes. Heavy metals like arsenic and radioactive isotopes like uranium and lead-210, polonium-210. Now, this is very important. When tobacco is grown, they use fertilizer. One of these fertilizers is phosphate, which is derived then from apatite, which is a mineral. You can find it in nature. Some of this apatite contains high concentrations of uranium, and as a product of radioactive reactions, you find polonium-210. Now, some of you may remember polonium-210 from the case of Alexander Litvinenko. That was a former KGB guy who was left to die in a hospital in England after someone slipped polonium-210 into his tea. Now, it's not a very likely story, because his father claims that Alexander was working for MI6, and other voices, like from Russia, say that he was likely smuggling radioactive isotopes himself. I don't know. We can't find out. But what we can find out is that the tobacco industry knew about the polonium-210 decades back, but they decided not to wash it out, but to leave it into the tobacco because it would be too expensive to take it out. Beside the horrible pictures, governments all across the world have forced onto cigarette packaging these texts, these horrible texts, which you could easily call affirmation texts, texts that if you read them often enough, they become true. Here are two clear differences. The one on the right is promoting the positive. The one on the left, the negative. It tells you that smoking kills. And by doing so, it actually promotes smoking of tobacco, because psychology tells us that subconsciously everyone has a death wish. Here an example of scaring people with chemistry. The user is warned of benzene, which is also present in gasoline, petrol, of nitrosamine, which is also in a new car or in balloons or in beer, formaldehyde, which you will find in cheap furniture, and hydrogen cyanide, which is a very toxic gas indeed. But if you eat unripe fruit, you'll be ingesting it also. So, it doesn't really say much. A number of people have reported to have stopped smoking by first going to the e-cigarette, vaping as it's called. Now with this electronic cigarette you certainly get rid of substances like the tar or the radioactive isotopes, but you're still inhaling the same liquid as what you buy to do the vaping, which could be a harmful substance like propylene glycol. And you may actually end up with a new heavy metal like chromium. So it's a good step up from tobacco, but it can be better. In addition to alternative substances, you can also combat nicotine cravings by therapies. Therapies like EFT and EMDR. EFT is used to combat addictions, traumas and neurosis, and it's a type of acupressure that you can do all by yourself. There are YouTube videos explaining how to go about it and where to tap and what to say to get rid of those addictions to nicotine. For EMDR, you do need a therapist, but both will help you to overcome the nicotine slavery that you're suffering from when you start. Now you may have heard that big tobacco, the large manufacturers, do not only make you addicted to nicotine in general, but also to their specific brand, to prevent you from switching from Pall Mall, Marlboro, Lucky Strikes to some other brand. Now what you could do is, there are on the market brands of cigarettes that do not have these additives, these chemicals, these so-called flavors that make you extra addicted to a certain brand. Brands like Pueblo, American Spirit Tobacco, also a well-known one. You have also Manitoba, and here's a brand that claims to have organic cigarettes. I cannot verify this claim, but try it and you may find that you have less tendency to light one cigarette after another. If you want a tighter grip on what you are smoking, the best thing you could do is make the cigarettes yourself. Now you can of course use tobacco for that, like this one, without the additives that make it extra addictive. You could alternatively smoke herbs like this stuff, which is a mixture of herbs which we'll go into later. And I would recommend buying a little device like this one, which I will demonstrate shortly, to get the herbs into empty cigarettes like this one. I'll demonstrate. So we're off to an old-fashioned chemist. Hans, heb je kruiden?
Dat heb ik.
Heb je rozemarijn?
Natuurlijk.
Oké, mag ik wat van je?
Ja, altijd.
Heel
Hoeveel
goed.
gram?
And if not, there are other shops with a wide variety of herbs. For your herbal mixture, I recommend starting with a 50-50 blend of mullein with some mint, like peppermint, and then adding for flavor or for health reasons other herbs. You can choose to mix in some tobacco with your herbal mixture, or when assembling the cigarette, choose to put the tobacco in the tip and gradually start removing tobacco as you become more accustomed to less nicotine. So there you have it. There's a couple of ways of getting rid of smoking cigarettes. Personally, I would recommend using EFT to lower the cravings, and then in addition start making your own cigarettes with a herbal mixture where initially you may want to mix in some tobacco and gradually you lower that contents of tobacco in those herbal mixtures, and then you end up smoking only herbal mixture, which you can stop any time that you want. That would be the goal. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, then please show it. You can also become a member of this channel, and please forward it to people that you think would be helped by seeing what alternatives they do have for quitting smoking. Thanks.